everyone, welcome to video 5 of my Healthy Middle Way parenting series, which is going to be all about reclaiming our authority as parents. And the reason why I'm bringing up this topic in this video series is that it's something that I've observed in this entire journey of starting this YouTube channel and, following a lot of parenting experts and observing myself and other parents. And, whilst it's important to seek knowledge so we expand our awareness and grow positively as parents, as humans, we also seem to have this tendency to go to extremes with everything. Just like I've mentioned the swing to the extreme side of perfectionism parenting in video 1, I also see that we have gone too far in looking to experts, looking externally for guidance in our parenting journey, and losing our sense of authority and agency as parents in the process. And this is why, if you followed my channel for a while, you will realize that I'm not just giving you, book summaries or knowledge around parenting. I've also talked a lot about developing, fostering, and strengthening our own inner guidance system. I have a whole inner work video series on that, and one of the videos is called Emotions as a Guidance System. And I often refer to this inner guidance system because I don't just want to, tell you guys what to do or, presenting the information as if I'm an expert. I'm definitely not. I mean, I actually don't think there is such a thing as a parenting expert personally. We are all individuals. We all have different values. We all have different kids, right? And so the most empowering thing to do is actually to go back within and come back to our own sense of authority with our kids and our own inner guidance system. So as with everything, the healthy middle ground is best. Seeking knowledge from experts, whilst also fostering a strong inner guidance system so we can filter out what is true for us and our children, and also foster strong authority over our children as we fully understand we are in charge of our own kids and not external experts or external institutions. And what I'm witnessing is that a lot of parents have lost their sense of authority with their own children, and they've become way too dependent on what parenting experts are telling them to do. And in general, I'd go as far as saying that we have been programmed as a society to look outside of ourselves. So, I'm not blaming anyone doing that. It's definitely been the agenda, I think, but we can realize what's going on and come back to ourselves. So one example that I've witnessed that I think I've mentioned in a previous video was in one of the Facebook Moms Forum that I'm part of, where a mom was upset because she asked for 4 weeks leave from her public school to take her child on holidays, and the school refused. And then this mom was very confused and asking this group for advice. But it's easy. You are the mom, you have the final say. If you want to take your child on vacation, you do just that. Like, the public school has no authority over that. And another example that I've seen is often when a parenting expert will post a video saying we need to validate all the emotions. And, parents in the comments saying it doesn't work for their kid and actually makes everything worse. Well, it's also easy. If that's your child, trust what's happening and try a different approach. Listen to what your child is telling you. Listen to the feedback. Observe it. It's not because a parenting expert said so that it's correct for your child in that particular moment. So there are a couple of points that I'd like to make. So first, I believe that one issue stems from our bias towards the actual meaning of the word authority. Because of our own upbringing, probably, we have equated authority with authoritarian. But the etymology of the word authority actually originates from the Latin word auctoritas, which means invention, advice, opinion, influence. And it is derived from the Latin word auctor, which means master, leader, author. So, it has nothing to do with power or coercion or control. It's actually about being a teacher, a leader, influencing others. So it's almost as if we have become afraid of our own authority because we make it mean that it's power and coercion, and we're overall afraid of damaging our kids when it couldn't be further from the truth. But it's also important to understand that what we are seeing on social media, where everyone is all of a sudden repeating everything, repeating the same, going more towards this perfectionism parenting, it's important to be aware that there seems to be, a social engineering at play. And that level of awareness has really allowed me to zoom out and take a step back, realize what's going on, and take control over that, if that makes sense. So, it's easy to say that we are the ones doing it wrong, but like when you go on social media and everyone is saying the same thing, that's making you swing to the extreme. It's important to realize that it's not just you. what I've mentioned at the beginning of this video series is that the healthy middle way of parenting is actually going against the grain. So it's not because you see everyone else, going one way that you do the same. You zoom out, you take a step back, and you realize what's going on, and you realize it's actually not really working for you, and you make an effort to actually stand in the middle way. So now that I've clarified the meaning of the word, here's why it's so important in our parenting relationship. So parental authority rests on two foundations. The first one is the leadership power to direct our child to do what we want, right? That's why a huge part of parenting is modeling. We don't have true authority if we tell a child he can't do something while we do it ourselves. So we have to lead by example, and that's why I still maintain that inner work is paramount in this parenting journey, and I recommend every parent embarks on this journey. Inner work is actually a very effective way of regaining our sense of authority, as you'll naturally feel this inner strength and power come back from within. And I will post a link to the inner work series that I've done in the description of this video. True authority comes from our kids respecting that authority, and that comes by us leading by example, but also them feeling like we are in charge, and we ultimately have their best interest at heart. And the second key foundation is educating on why the rules are in place. I've mentioned that in previous videos that I spend a lot of time explaining to my kids why we do certain things, right? Often to keep them safe, healthy, socially adept. It's our instructional power to educate the child about what we believe is wise and true. And that has a really strong place in this healthy middle way parenting. Our true authority comes from having this power of influence over our kids. Because as you can imagine, having authority over our children when they are young is easy. But as they become adolescents, it becomes much harder, right? And that's why connection is so important and is directly linked to our children, trusting us and respecting us enough to let us influence them as they grow older. And on this topic, I highly recommend you watch my video summary of the book, Hold On to Your Kids. I'll put the link to the video in the description of this video because it really explains all of this very well. And of course, at times we need to assert this authority, right? I'm talking about the leadership aspect in terms of, modeling, and I'm talking about the education aspect of explaining all of it and collaborating. But there are times where you need to really show that you're in charge and be assertive. So sometimes we'll need to declare our need for cooperation. Sometimes we need to actually make a serious and firm request. Other times, we need to attach consequences to compliance or non-compliance. Sometimes repeated insistence, to show you mean business, explaining the reasons that are persuasive, negotiating a deal to get what you want. But, sometimes you're going to actually have to lay down the law and not be afraid of it. When we uphold the authoritative parenting approach, the middle way, we understand that it's not about saying because I said so. There is a lot of, various approaches that we can take. But ultimately, we uphold the authority. We are in charge. But it's more from a leadership standpoint than a dictatorship. And so, of course, our kids are not always going to be happy about that. And the issue we have is when we make our kids' resistance to our authority means something about us. When we take it personally. And, it's the need to be right, to be unquestioned and, the boss. And this is when power struggles happen. And I'm sure you have experienced this and realize it's highly ineffective. The struggle actually drops when you fully stand in your own authority, as a parent. When you are actually very confident in your leadership skills, you will no longer take your child's protests as a personal attack. And it doesn't mean that, it's always pleasant to hear your kid whinge or, throw a tantrum or any of that. But at least it won't be, it won't make you question yourself or waver or, become really aggressive because you don't like being challenged. And this is not to say that children should not be consulted about things that affect them. I've mentioned before that the healthy middle way of parenting has a lot to do with collaboration, right? It's a true leadership. But there is a big difference between discussing the situation with a child, so they have an understanding of the situation, as opposed to needing the child to always agree with the decision. When families create boundaries for children, whether it's, how much time they spend on their phones or a requirement they eat a healthy meal before dessert, for example, kids may not like it. It's understandable for parents to get pushback from children, right? When they don't get their way. They may even throw a tantrum. But we need to be okay with that. We need to come to a sense of groundedness and authority and confidence in our parenting where we don't let this affect us as much. And the last point that I want to make is that parental authority actually serves a very important function. It gives structure and direction to a child's life, right? Like with parents declaring what to do, what not to do, what is right, what is wrong, what works, what doesn't work. It gives the child a reference for making decisions that they can internalize and follow without having to figure out, how to believe and behave entirely on their own. It's a guidance, it's a set of values that become inherent to the child, where they don't have to constantly second guess or think about what to do. They've absorbed it. And the child needs this foundation for safe and healthy functioning. It's actually what gives them a sense of security, the secure attachment. And the problem we have today is that a lot of children seem to think that they are in charge or that they have as much power as their own parents. And also what I've noticed is that a lot of kids actually don't even have respect for adults anymore. So when children are raised in an environment where parents don't assert their authority, children can get a sense of power and control in their lives that they're actually not ready for, right? Because kids clearly aren't mature enough to make a lot of decisions. Children who don't have clear guidelines set by parents, they may make choices that are detrimental to their well-being. So it's doing a child a huge disservice to give them more power and authority than they actually are capable of. So that's all I wanted to say today. I hope this was helpful. And as usual, if you have anything to share, I'd love to hear it in the comments. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.